Hello, my bad for taking so long to upload this. I was really busy doing extremely important stuff. Just recently, I traveled from the mysterious lands of Toronto, Canada, back to my home country, Ecuador. The trip was long and exhausting as but it was all worth it. I got to see my hometown, spend time with my family, eat really good food, and see my dog. Big baby. But snooping through my room, I found my old sketchbooks from 2020 and 2021, back when I was self-teaching myself art after getting rejected from art school, not one, but two, but three times. Fine, I didn't have the money anyway. I am not salty, I promise. So, I thought it would be a good idea to show what I was doing back then to learn and improve, what helped me level up quickly and break down the key art fundamentals beginners should focus on. So if you're trying to self-teach too, this should give you a clear starting point. Now, the first thing I want to say is you need to stop treating sketchbooks like art books. They don't have to be pretty. They don't even have to be perfect. They have to be full. Focus on learning, not showing off. I say this from experience. Let's start with this one. I probably named this step 1, though it's more of an ongoing process, life drawing. I used to be so scared to draw people. I mean, I still am, to be honest. But I wanted to get comfortable with it, so I started doing it daily. As you can see, I had no structure or real anatomy knowledge. I was just trying to draw something that reads as a human, mainly focusing on the line of action and the storytelling behind the pose. You can see I was going for the CSI curves thingy, something that's recommended specially for short poses. That said, most of these live drawings weren't even timed. That was a personal choice. Here's where I started taking things more seriously, learning anatomy, learning the important landmarks of the body, like the rib cage, the pelvis, the clavicle. Oh, this is super important. Drawing the body just using boxes for the rib cage and pelvis, it's key. It really helps understanding form and perspective. Applying those landmarks to the boxes helps simplify the body. Then practicing all together, focusing on simplification, more landmark info here. Also very important, the wrapping lines. You use them to show perspective and form. This exercise here was all about playing with 3 shapes, the sphere, the rectangle, and the cylinder, and merging them to form the body. Now we're learning the head, proportions and simplification. More proportion info, like where the ears start, the jaw, the nose, etc. Drawing all that but in perspective to get a better grasp of form. Yo, what the fuck is this body? More upper body studies, but now with muscles. Learning the important ones and how they fit over those simple shapes. You can see that I'm using the wrapping lines here a lot too. This is interesting, learning how the obliques work and how they connect to the ribcage and the pelvis. The body usually twists here since it's soft and squishy. More muscle studies, more wrapping lines. Yeah, to me they were very much key when I was starting. And more and more and more. The color coding helped a lot. I definitely recommend doing that. Here I'm following the same process but with the forearm. Notice how I treat the bone as a simple rectangle, then add the muscles as organic shapes. Once again, simplification. Alright, this one's done. On to the next. Now, I started applying what I was learning so far by drawing complete humans. Not meant to be finished pieces, still practice and study though. I followed a medical book, not an art one. Some say medical anatomy is better, and even though it's more complex, it's really not bad to dig deeper. This one isn't bad actually, maybe the body is a bit too long, but otherwise, not bad. I actually hate and love the serratus muscles. They look cool, but they are a pain to get right. Wait, but hold on, Nico, where were you getting all this info? Well, as of that time, from 2 sources. The most important one being the Figure Drawing, Design and Invention book by Michael Hampton. And second, I was googling stuff like anatomy, breakdown, muscles, drawing, and replicating what I found, mainly on Pinterest. Also, super important, draw the skull constantly. Our anatomy is the most straightforward way to learn form, composition, and perspective. But our skull has all of that all the time, from every angle. It's a very complex thing to get right, but incredibly useful. This one's nice. You can still see the construction lines underneath. I felt really proud of this one. More skulls, different angles, breaking down the eyes, the nose, more studies, mouth studies. Oh my god, the bean. If you've ever looked into live drawing, you probably have heard of the bean. It's the first thing you should draw alongside the line of action. It helps establish the center of the body and its movement. These studies focus on twisting and bending it in a believable way, starting with the bean. Here's a refresher of the body and its landmarks. Our skeleton reacts to gravity, and because of our spine, it naturally forms this S shape. Now you can probably see the improvement in these live drawings. I'm starting to add muscles and anatomy, but still keeping it loose and expressive. You can clearly see that S-curve here. More and more, and a whole lot more. On to the next one. These finger studies are crucial. Learning how to connect the main shapes and add the soft parts in between is actually very hard. That's why fingers sometimes don't look right, because we skip the squishy stuff or we get it wrong. Even though this looks rough and bony, it's still readable, which is honestly the best I could get at the moment. People love to say drawing hands is one of the hardest things ever, and I mean, yeah, it's pretty complex, but I think that's a myth. It's more about subtlety. The right line or curve makes a really big difference. Same idea, but now with the legs. Still using wrapping lines here, I was more focused on the overall components that shape the leg, not the precision in the anatomy. And for some reason, our feet look like this. It's weird as but honestly, it's more important to learn the footprint. Just because with that, you'll be able to shorthand it later. Big shapes for simplification equal amazing. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Easy. Maybe the edges are a bit too sharp, but still, that's pretty solid. More feet and leg studies, just, getting comfortable with it. Oh, this right here. Very important. How to shade the basic forms that make up the anatomy. I know it's got all the theory written out. Highlight, crest light, halftone, core accent, cast shadow, reflection, and shadow. It's useful to know, but honestly, in my opinion, you'll figure it out naturally as you practice. I don't even remember using those terms while painting. Of course, as it cannot be any other way, more live drawing. Whoa, look at that. That's neat. Great action line, the anatomy is actually not too bad. Yeah, no, you can definitely see the improvement with each drawing. You see, this is the cool part of revisiting your old work. Damn, I didn't remember I was drawing this much. Definitely not doing this nowadays. I remember my high school art teacher saying the only way to get good is to draw every day. No secret. And honestly, he was actually... never mind this. Alright, bye, you're done. Okay, now we're getting into the force theory with life drawing. I was studying from this book called Force Dynamic Life Drawing by Mike Mattesi and applying what I learned. So the whole point of the method is to push your poses for better storytelling using the force. The dude who wrote the book used to do live streams every Friday with other artists explaining and demonstrating all of this, and I was there watching every single week. In this method, lines don't just start or end. Every arrow represents another force. Energy flows from one part to the next. It doesn't just teleport. So the shoulder leads into the rib cage, which flows into the hips and the legs. The movement increases in each figure. The lines are darker too, probably because I changed how I held my pencil. Better angle for those strong strokes. Look at that, you can clearly see the force in here. And same in here, even though there's no head. Oh damn, the improvement is actually crazy. I really love this one. It's vibing to your favorite song or whatever. The point is you can clearly feel what it's doing. The darker lines in front help with composition and guiding the eye way better. This reads, force leads to function, function leads to balance, and that equals rhythm. Go from more to less. More rhythm and function, less detail. Make the front darker, and boom. I used to draw heads as squares because I was struggling with them so much. It was just easier that way, but it's something that I still struggle with until this day. Even if the anatomy here doesn't really make sense, the force and flow are there, which is the coolest thing. One of the most common things with live drawing, of course, there are bad days. Live drawing has its ups and downs, and sometimes you get only 1 or 2 good drawings if you're lucky in a session. Yup. This was definitely me crashing out. It's frustrating when you feel like nothing is working, like you really try, but sometimes it's just not your day for it. As I always say, I find that it is a matter of mental health. Your mental is what really guides your hand, especially with this kind of stuff where you have to be quick and decisive with the lines that you're putting in. Okay, let's do this last one. Bigger book. I needed to start live drawing on a bigger scale, which is usually recommended, and it actually really does make a difference. It just really helps your wrist and hand move more freely, which leads to, better lines. God damn it, you can still see I had a hard time drawing the heads. Oh yeah, I very much remember this. This is where I started to add more muscle to my hands. Even though they still look a bit bony in a way, I was getting a better grasp of the hands. If you're tired of me saying this, well, I'm sorry, but the wrapping lines. They were my savior and still are when keeping things rough. Alright, this is just some experimentation. Cartoony styles are really not my strong suit, okay? I wanted to design a character using the force method for the pose and then adding interesting shapes to it. It did take some tries, but here we are. The form skeleton, as you can see right here, and then with the redefined clothes. No head because I was still pretty bad at it, unfortunately. Playing with the shapes was really fun. The character designs may not be the best, but you know, hey, I was learning. Applying all this was really new to me. I really never got into doing this, you could say, seriously. And now we go back to more life drawing. And more, and seriously, this is literally what I was doing every single day, over and over again. But applying what I was learning. This is not so bad. You can clearly see the underlying circular shape and arrows that I used to give this person the weight of sitting down. Okay. Let's leave it here. I think you can get the idea. As you might have realized, practically all of my training, so to say, was on the live drawing and self-teaching the fundamentals of it, such as the muscles, simplification, form, and the anatomy. And as I previously said, this is what I would recommend for anyone wanting to get into art seriously. Even if you want to be something else like a prop or environment designer, this right here is a ground you should first build upon. Trust me, it's all connected and it will make your next steps way easier. It was after all this that I felt I could finally transition to the digital side of the art. And that is a whole different story for another day.